Hey, this is Megan. Welcome to the Megan Waldrop podcast. If you're new here, hell yeah. Come on in. We're going to get into it. And if you've been here before, I love you. I'm so happy that we get to have these conversations about just being human. Like these are the back porch conversations that you have with your friends late night, or maybe these are conversations you don't have with your friends because maybe you just don't, go that deep sometimes. And that's okay because some people just can't emotionally go there, and that's all good. But here, that's what we love to do. So today I'm going to talk about being a sober girly whenever you're around your friends at a reunion or if you're at a show or a concert, a party, whatever that is, and what it feels like. Particularly, I'm going to talk about the reunion that I just had with my dearest friends that are like family from high school. These are mainly guys and a few girls. And I talked about this in the last episode, but we meet every summer in Augusta, Georgia, because that's where we all went to high school. And it's lovely. But this year for me, it was different because, I haven't drank alcohol in over, I think like 10 and a half years now, which is wild. And I stopped smoking weed or taking any hallucinogenics about 2 years ago. I think August will be 2 years. And that's a big deal for me because for me to wean off alcohol, I went straight into weed, which I don't recommend you just diving into another substance. But if you got to get there to get out of one door to get to the other, whatever, do what you got to do. So I would still smoke weed and eat hallucinogenics, mainly mushrooms, at shows or at reunions with my friends. And so this time I didn't do either. And I was curious about how that was going to be for me because I really enjoy hallucinogenics, especially when I'm around people that I love. And let me give you a little background on what I've tried in the past. So funny. I never thought I'd ever share this. Mom, if you're listening, it's all good. I'm still here. But in the past, I've had mushrooms, LSD, and MDMA. These are all the hallucinogenics I've tried in my life. No judgment if you've had any other experiences. These are just the ones that I've done. And I started that journey whenever I've mentioned this too, Widespread Panic, jam bands. I had probably my first any of those at those shows, which by the way, I'm realizing now was a super traumatic way to go into hallucinogenics because you're at a show, you don't know what the hell's going on, you don't know what you're taking if it's your first time, really. And then it's the music is so intense, especially jam bands. Like they make it that way. Jam band music was developed to make people who were on acid to continue to dance. If you've seen any Grateful Dead documentary, they talk about this. Like they decided to start going into their deep jams that go in for like 10, 20 minutes when they saw the people on acid dancing their asses off and they wanted to keep them dancing. So they would feed the crowd with acid and like that's how it all started. Now, I'm sure there's some historians out there going to say I got it wrong, but whatever. Here and there, the culture is to enjoy an altered state and go into these types of shows. So that's kind of how I started. I was there for the party, you know what I'm saying? And so it was not there was no, going in now, if I was to do it again, I would have my comfy clothes on. I would have the nice environment, the lighting, the people, the food, the drink, whatever I needed to feel safe. And that's how I would go into it, which now that I'm not, I have no desire to take hallucinogenics anymore. It's funny because I feel like now I'm in the state that I might have been able to enjoy it differently, more expansively. But honestly, I feel like I've touched the sun already and I'm good. Like I have had those incredible high moments and I understand what it's like to have that incredible mind expansion and to know that we are all connected because that's really what it comes down to. Every single trip I've ever had or any trip that I've heard of from other people, it's like the one thing that we come out of it realizing is that we are all connected. We are all one. And the only thing that really separates us is our ego, our beliefs, and our fears. And that's it. We're all just here, just existing on this planet, and it's supposed to be for fun and joy and love. And it's the ego, belief, and fears that are constantly keeping us in this prison every single day. And with that said, I've also had really, really bad trips where I was in those ego beliefs and fears and spiraling and thought, am I going to have to go to a mental institution right now? Like, I feel like I'm out of control. Schizophrenic, I understood I can't say I understood it because I don't understand that on that level, but the continual voices at one point, I was like, this is scary. Um, Regardless, overall, I think hallucinogenics are great if you are wanting to test it out. I don't feel that it is necessary to have these experiences. You need to eat those. At one point, I said I wanted to do an ayahuasca ceremony and try all these other things, but honestly, at this point, I feel that reality is its own trip in itself, and to stay sober in different environments is its own experience, to be honest with you. And to understand what it's like to have that mind expansion or have had that experience means that you can go back and experience it again. And I have had those experiences in various forms with meditation. So I just wanted to give you a little background. So I can say, yeah, I've had plenty of experience with that. But this year, I go back to my friend reunion, and that's kind of the deal is like we go to this really nice dinner together, and then we go back to the house on Friday night and we turn on the music. There's a pool table and we're freaking hanging out. And so some people ate some acid, some people just smoked some weed, and then some people just went to bed, which I loved. I'm like, wow, we're old enough that some of us are going to bed. We are have officially evolved. But I wanted to stay up because I usually go to bed pretty early, but I wanted to be around my people and I wanted to not miss out on the fun because I only get to see them really once a year. And so I was like, okay, who's eating acid? Who's doing what? I'm kind of gonna just, I told them I would be their spirit guide if they needed anybody to help them calm down. So, but it was so interesting seeing one of my friends who you could tell the acid kicked in, and it was this lucid clarity that happens when you're on hallucinogenics. And it was really fabulous to witness on the outside. They weren't doing anything weird. It wasn't like they were crawling on the walls. They were just locked in and they were very clear and making sense in the no ego, no fears, no beliefs realm. So this is what we were talking about. This is a father of two girls, by the way. And so I was talking about my nephews, Archie and Mackie, who I love so much, my sister's little boys. And I was saying how we're really soaking up the time with them now because it seems that traditionally, when you grow up and you get married and have a family, that it seems the majority of people that I know, you end up going towards the wife's family. Like the wife's family seems to kind of be the closer family, or maybe they're around to help raise the kids. And so, the son ends up going with the wife's family. But since my sister has two sons, we're like, no, we don't want that to happen. We want y'all to be with us forever. How do we all live on a compound happily ever after? I love these little nuggets so much. And my friend immediately goes, no, you got to let it go. You can have no control over anything. You just got to let it go and enjoy it as it's happening. I mean, he's like spitting this out. And I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I know he's right, but I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I want to make it where they never want to leave us and they always want to come back for Christmas. And, just these thoughts you have as an auntie. And he was just so like, just in the flow, like, no, like that's just not how it is, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, he is so locked in right now to that flow state, that hallucinogenic flow state where everything's making sense. And it just seems so simple, why we have these reservations and stuff that hold us back. Fast forward to the next morning, and we were talking about kids and his daughter's getting older. And he said, well, something like, he's not hallucinating anymore. Okay, at this point, the next morning he said, well, I'm going to make sure that blah, blah. I was like, no, you got to let it go. You can't control it. He's like, no, I am. I said, no, this is what you told me last night. And you were right. And it sucks to think about that now that you're in the state where, okay, these beliefs, ego, and fear are taking over. But yeah, you're right. You got to let it go. And it was like, damn, how do we live in this state of not tripping your balls off, but just like having more of that awareness of getting away from all that attachment? I mean, that's really what it is. So I ended up staying till up to like 3:34, which I was very impressed. But what it's like being around your friends. I had, let's see, some non-alcoholic beers, but after a while you're like, I'm just full. I just don't even want to drink these. And sure, people are smoking weed and stuff. And it smells good. But I have to say, like, I wasn't tempted during, like, after everybody was had started the evening, I wasn't as like tempted as I thought I was going to be. I didn't feel like I was missing out at all. I felt good about being around my friends and myself. Like I could just get comfortable. I was like playing with the music, whatever. I feel that almost whenever you're the sober person at a party, depending on what people are taking, I feel like if you're at a sober party around people who are drinking is a completely different experience because it goes downhill fast. You're like, ugh, just sloppiness. And as someone who used to get sloppy all the time, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, I guess I am judging. I'm just saying it's not fun to be around. So I'd rather be on people who are hallucinating in a safe environment or smoking weed than drinking. That's for sure. Like in a closed, tight space for hours, where it's just like you just see someone just like slowly become more incoherent. It's like, ugh. But funny enough, whenever people are on hallucinogenics, they almost become more coherent if they're in a good state where they are having a good trip. So, was it hard? It was, I think the hardest part for me was going into it, was thinking about, am I going to be able to do this? Be the sober girl? I mean, I am, but how difficult will it be for me? How challenging will it be for me? And I think the first big challenge for me as being a sober girly was going to a Widespread Panic show. This is jam band. Was it last year? Last May or something? 2 day show, completely sober. And I didn't know how I was going to feel there, but I felt great. It was actually one of the best shows I've ever been to because I didn't have to worry about sneaking any drugs in or finding a ride home afterwards. Or, is this song going to make me start a panic attack, have a panic attack? Because some of those shows, the songs are meant to take you on a crazy ass trip. So I feel like if I could do that, I can go to this reunion. So I think the biggest thing is if you're going to a space where you're like, I feel like this is a space that I used to indulge in all the time. Check in, like, do you even want to go there? Like, you don't have to go. So that's number one. You're not going to miss out on much, like, unless it's like your dear friends that you want to see, like maybe you can go have breakfast with them the next day. But if you feel like you're ready and you're like, oh man, is this going to be a bummer? Just try it out. I swear, within like 30 minutes, you're going to be like, no, I feel good. This is good. Everybody's doing their own thing. And once you are able to like not even, resist these temptations or not feel like you need to indulge, it becomes such a greater superpower to your sobriety that you're like, okay, I got this. Like I'm totally, I have, I know I can handle myself in any situation. Now, if you're starting to feel vulnerable and you're like, am I ready yet? Then don't do this. I mean, like I said, I've been 10 and a half years sober with alcohol and about 2 years sober with any other thing. So I felt like I was prepared. But if you feel like you're tempted, like don't ever tempt your sobriety. Sobriety is the biggest superpower I feel that you could ever have. And also within the spiritual journey, it's funny because I feel like at this point, I don't want to blur that or hinder that or slow it down by taking drugs anymore. Like I think for a long time, I used to think that, well, I used to tell myself that weed was going to help me feel more spiritual. And that was just me trying to hold on and not quit. Like for maybe some people it does. I know Rastafarian, that's part of the religion is like you are ingesting marijuana and smoking marijuana. But for me, it was just, I knew it wasn't part of my make as much as I tried a million times to make it work. So for me, it was, the next step for me in my spiritual journey was sobriety. And it's not boring. It's really not boring. It feels great. I didn't have much sleep the next day, but I still felt, I felt good about myself. Even coming off of that weekend when it took me a few days to recover, I wasn't super depressed from trying to get off of some certain substances or anything like that. And I wasn't hungover, which is always the biggest plus ever. quit drinking and never get hungover again, it's the best. Yeah. And of course, there's non-alcoholic beverages if you want to still enjoy that taste or whatever. But after a while, you're like, I'm good. Like, I just want to kind of protect my peace and go on my morning walk and still do my meditation or whatever it is. Sobriety is its own trip. It feels great that you don't have to search for anything outside of you to fulfill you. And maybe you're not going to touch the sun, but that's okay. Like touching the sun all the time is not necessarily a great thing. That is like stress and yeah, burning yourself out literally. But sobriety with itself, it's like every day becomes its own journey through how am I witnessing myself in this moment? You know, it doesn't make life, I guess the way to put it is like for me, sobriety is not solving all of my problems. It's not that I don't ever have challenges again. It's just that they're so much easier to deal with. They're so much easier to manage, and I can recover and move quickly through things than I'd had before. I have more time for myself. I don't have these super low moments of, you know, serotonin recovery. I don't feel like I have to search for where my next drug is or drink is, and is it okay or socially acceptable to start drinking or doing this certain substance at this time? And it's just so much energy for me. I was like, am I running out? How much do I have left? How much money do I have left to go get this? And where am I going to get it? And how am I going to transport this between state lines? Because that's a whole thing too. Like we were living in California and then driving across the country. I don't do it anymore, so y'all can search my car and it's fine. But I mean, it just became exhausting. So giving you a little background on what it's like to be that sober girl, but also that whole hallucinogenic, the witness to the hallucinogenic experience is really fascinating too, because it takes you back to that point of whenever you realize that your mind was expanding and also to see your friends' mind expand and also spit some reality, like clear reality of detachment was really cool. But also to see how the next day when he wasn't so expansive, how those beliefs and fears and ego came in, and he felt that need to hang on and that attachment too, which was funny. The human experience, y'all. So, if anything, I hope this was entertaining for you. If you have a sober story and you want to share it, like bring it on. You can email me at support@meganwaldrip.com or DM me on Instagram at megan.waldrip. And I love talking about it. It's just, it's so interesting to talk about something that completely consumed my life for so long, which was drinking and doing drugs. And now to see it from an outsider's perspective and also to see it from a perspective where I'm to the point where I don't shame myself for it anymore, which I feel like is a whole other conversation. Working on that every day. Thanks so much for being here. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. See y'all later.